Something you never guessed about budgeting and saving is how easy it actually is, provided you plan your financial life the right way. If I told you the humongous amount of money people waste every year on unnecessary and overpriced stuff, you'd be blown away. Yes, it is that crazy. Are you wasting your hard-earned money on unnecessary stuff too? In this program, I'm going to give you 50 ways you are being ripped off, items you are spending too much money on, and cheap solutions for all the things you are overpaying for. Stay tuned. Hello. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. I'm very happy to have you today. I hope you are doing fantastic. Are you doing marvelous? I hope you are. And if you are, make yourself comfortable, grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka, and let's roll. Today, I want to quickly talk to you about an important topic, right? A lot of folks spend a lot of money on things they don't need or things that are overpriced, and we actually thought it was a good idea to put a stop to that. Before I really jump into the 50 items, the ultimate list, whether, you know, and these things you really want to pay attention because these items are all year round. In other words, all year round. So you don't only overpay for them during the holidays, but you also pay for them on a normal day, you know, anytime during the year. So it is important to pay attention so you can take them off your list of purchases and possibly save some save some money, right? Before I really get into the list, I want to quickly give a shout out to our beautiful and lovely viewers and listeners and fans all over the world. In North America, in Europe, in Australia, in Africa, in Latin America, you name it. Particularly, I want to give a shout out to Dexter Saunders in Natural Bridge, Alabama, to Clem Hawkins, Ohechi, Alabama, and to Imogen Kennedy in Abernant, Alabama. We love you. Thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate it. The number one item I want to talk to you about is upscale caskets. Now, this is it might be a little weird to start the conversation on a sad note, but upscale coffins really cost a lot of money because a lot of companies, a lot of funeral homes are taking advantage of families in such highly emotional moments to mark up the item, to mark up the coffin by 30%, 45%, or 50%. What you want to do instead is that if you have a loved one who has departed and you find yourself trying to, you know, sort of get into funeral expenses, you want to buy direct. You want to contact, and usually it's better to contact a provider, a supplier online, and they can work with you to have a customized casket that will fit your departed one. So upscale caskets is basically one items that a lot of families throughout the world, especially in very, very distressed moment and stressful moments, people don't look at the price tag anymore. They just want to spend the money. So think about that. The second thing I want to talk about is airline club memberships. Now, this is something that a lot of folks think it's outdated, but it's not. Believe it or not, media report have indicated the fact that millions of Americans are still having airline club memberships. And this is a waste of money because there are a lot of alternatives out there that are cheaper, right? For instance, instead of paying $100 or $200 or $300 for yearly dues, what you want to do instead is get a credit card that offers mileage rewards, right? And there are tons of credit cards out there that offer mileage rewards. In addition to that, they also include the features, the perks also include airline memberships. So you are actually saving twice, right? So you are able to use a credit card to accumulate points, and you can also get a free airline memberships. The third item that a lot of folks waste money on is banking fees, right? Now, The banking fees are part of the financial institution's overhead. So it is very important to choose an institution that, I would say, exclusively operates online. So you want to have an internet bank. That way, their overhead is low and they wouldn't be charging you a lot of fees. Or choose an institution that has a limited number of branches. Because one thing people don't understand is that they always are surprised that they are paying $12, or 12 pounds, or 12 euros, or 12 pesos, or whatever the currency is. They're paying $12 or $15 or $30 a month in banking fees, and they are thinking, why am I paying that much? Well, it has to do with the bank's overhead cost. So the banks will usually pass this on to customers. So you want to choose an alternative, and the better alternative here is a bank that exclusively operates online or has a limited number of branches. Number 4, graduation caps and gowns, right? Again, we're going to those sort of one-time events or two-times events, whatever it is, whether you're graduating from high school or college. This sort of circumstances make people usually don't look at budget in those cases, and this is a major mistake here. So for graduation caps and gowns, don't buy them at your college or at your college store or at your high school store. You want to order them online. There are a lot of alternatives. There are a lot of web stores, online stores that offer wonderful, well tailored graduation caps and gowns. And what you want to do is you just want to know your size and order. It's way cheaper. Number 5, hotel stays. Now, hotel stays can be very, 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 very expensive. Now, the rates for a hotel are not the same everywhere. One of the things you want to look at is you want to start thinking about for hotel stays, there are two things to look at. You look at where you book the hotel, right? So whether you do it online or a travel agency or on the hotel, on the site itself, on the hotel's website itself. And you also got to look at things like seasonality and timing, right? So if you, for instance, you want to plan a vacation next year and you know that it's currently a Christmas or it's the holiday season, year-end holiday season, you want to plan those things 9 months in advance or 6 months in advance so that you have the opportunity to have a better price, but also you are able to book on a platform that's very cheap. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks. I am just doing fantastic. I hope you are still around. We really appreciate your viewership, your listenership. I don't even know if that words exist, but we appreciate you sticking around and following this important topic. I want to save you money, and for us, what's really important here is in preparing for this show, we've done a lot of. The production team has done a lot of research, and we've seen people who are very, very nonconformist, people who don't want to get into the whole capitalism thing, the whole consumer society, who wants to have a normal life and basically still enjoy life. And we gather their practices, their routines, and we are compiling this now into our list of 50 items that you can do. Things you can do to save money. Number 6, the so-called health foods, like they have those sort of fancy names, because they call it health foods. They are thinking about charging you, 50% more or 35% more, so you have, for instance, they call it healthy snack bars, and those will cost 5 to 10 times as much as, the normal candy bar. You have the healthy plates, you have the protein powder, all kinds of stuff that affix the brand health foods. And because of that, they are charging you extra. So you want to really pay attention to that. Now, a lot of us, if not most of us, are health conscious, right? So you want to think about what you put in your mouth. However, you got to strike a right balance here. If you just constantly just buy health foods, your bank account is going to cry and cry and cry and keep crying. Number 7, cell phone plans. Now, the cell phone plans are very costly. Now, in the last 10 years, they have gone down, right? They used to cost like, if you live in New York or LA, in those big cities, in those, you in Chicago, some plans used to cost as much as 50 or $100 a month, right? But the thing is, a lot of them used to require you. A lot of those providers used to require you to sign a 2-year deal with the phone carrier, and you need to figure out exactly what you need, right? It's very important. Do you need in the cell phone plan? I mean, signing a 2-year deal is not really a problem because you don't have a lot of power play there. The provider has all the power play, so you have to sign the 2-year deal. But what you control is the additional features, right? Roadside assistance, those kind of stuff, because that's how AIRLINE. Why am I talking about AIRLINE here? the cell phone providers, that's how they make money. And a lot of those salespeople, they are being paid on commission, so they will push those items on you. So any additional features like roadside assistance, think about whether or not you really need it. If not, just scratch it off the list. So you have just a core plan every month to pay for it. Number 8, cell phone insurance. Now, this is another thing. Now, cell phone insurance, is it really needed? Comment below. Just tell us in the comment section. Do you really think that people need a cell phone insurance at all? We are always interested to kind of have different viewpoints and really fit into the conversation here. So please just tell us your experience with cell phone insurance. In our research for the show, we've seen that cell phone insurance is not really needed unless you have a top price device, right? If you have an iPhone 10 or iPhone Premium or Samsung, those sort of very high priced phones that cost about $1,000 or $2,000 or even more in some cases, then you want to have insurance, right? Because this phone becomes an asset, literally, because you are using it often. You are using it for work. You are using it. I know a lot of entrepreneurs who use their cell phone for work. So the phone becomes an asset. And as an asset, this becomes something you want to insure, because losing it will have a deleterious effect on your business or on your life. But if you have a phone that is very, very cheap or just a basic phone, you don't need insurance. And if you want to get insurance, one thing I want to say is that don't get it with a carrier. You want to get the insurance through a third party, because the carrier really bumps up the insurance. And it's just the way the cell phone plans are built. The business model is to milk as much cash from the customer as possible. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just telling you that you have to know your options. You have to know what's important for you, and you have to make the right choices. Number 9, auto dealer repair services. Now, when you buy a car, usually you can buy it at a dealership, right? They offer maintenance and repair services. Now, the thing is that the goal here for the car dealership is to make you believe that their mechanics are the best. They're the ones qualified to fix and maintain the brand of vehicles that they sell, right? So if you buy, say, a Mercedes, the dealer will tell you, listen, we are certified by Mercedes-Benz, to repair or to serve the car. Is it true? Not really. Not really, because you have a lot of mechanics who are very well qualified to take care of your car. So the mechanics at a regular shops can also, they are just as qualified as the service profession, the so-called service professionals, and they can take care of your car as well. And they are way cheaper because, again, they don't have the overhead that a normal car dealership will have. So when thinking about saving money and thinking about how to limit the damage to your wallet, one thing you have to think about is the service provider's overhead. You want, I was talking earlier about the banking fees. You got to think about, for the auto dealer repair services, you want to think about the overhead, the administrative cost that this company, this organization has to bear, because they will pass it on to their customers. So if you go to a small garage versus a large dealership, chances are you are going to save money, right? Number 10, electronics. Now, electronics is something, it's just a buzzword nowadays. The thing is, technology is advancing by leaps and bounds so rapidly that if you buy a gadget today, 3-6 months from now, it might be obsolete, right? Literally obsolete. And this is how the industry is trying to keep you buying stuff, because they have to make money. They have margin goals to reach. They have stockholders and shareholders to please. There are a lot of race to profits here, and a lot of races to profit here. And what really happens is that the consumer, you in this case, you are caught in the middle, and you have to buy stuff. So you buy a gadget now, and a year from now there's a new one coming up. Do you really still need to buy the new one? Not really. So don't fall for the trap where they show you, electronics are always heavily discounted, right? It is a holiday. This is the holiday season. We want you to buy a new one because of 30% off, whatever. There is a lot of crazy stuff happening around Black Fridays. Everybody wants to jump into the shopping frenzy. Is it really needed? Not really. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks. I hope you are still around. We have talked about the top 10 ways you can save money, and we want to be a ruthless nonconformist. We're giving you ideas that you cannot find anywhere else. We are unconventional, and you know what? We like it, because at the end of the day, we want to save you cash. And if it needs that we have to use nonconformist pathways, we are ready for that. I hope you are doing fantastic and marvelous and listening to us. Now, let's just jump right into it. Number 11. Before I even talk about number 11, I want to give again a big shout out to our fan. We have Aiden Woods in Culver, Arizona. Beautiful state of Arizona. Aiden Woods, we love you. Thank you so much for your support. Drew Stevens. Drew, Scottsdale, Arizona. Thank you, Drew. We love you. We send you greetings. We acknowledge you and your family. Elizabeth Mason in Iron Springs, Arizona. Beautiful state of Arizona. We love you. By the way, Iron Springs is a beautiful city. You got to visit it if you get a chance. Next time you are in Arizona, just stop by and just look for. They have beautiful scenery, a lot of good stuff there. Thank you for those viewers who are listening. For those viewers and listeners and fans over the world, thank you so much for your support. If you are liking this kind of content, share with other people who might want to save a buck or two, or even 1,000 or 2,000. If you find this content relevant, subscribe. Like, you know the deal, right? Subscribe, like, share, comment. Comments are very important for us. We want to know what you think is the best way for you to save money. What are the tips that you have, and what I call grandma tips for savings. Share with the community. Share with the Sweetie Kiwi community. Number 11, your next car. Now, similar to electronics, as I spoke about earlier, vehicle technology is advancing by leaps and bounds, right? It is advancing so far that it is so fast that the new vehicles are no longer the only ones that shine, right? So you got to think about your next car. If you buy a car today and 1 or 2 years from now, the car is already outdated, you have to think about, and cars are big purchases, right? I mean, depending on your budget, but for most people, cars are part of a big what economists call big purchases. And you want to think about, you want to make the choice right. If you see that instead of buying, for instance, a a new car, it's just better to buy a car that has been driven, probably that has 1,000 miles or 500 miles. It's a little better. Go for it, right? Go for the low mileage car, because sometimes you have the stigma of driven off the lot, right? The car has been driven off the lot. Speaking of the the dealership, so it loses value as soon as it leaves the lot. Why don't you buy those kind of cars? It's better than going for a shiny car with a zero mileage, right? You probably might be saving $2,000 or $3,000 or $5,000 depending on the car, on the brand and the model. Premium gasoline. Now, premium gas is an important thing, right? You have a higher price tag and fancy sometimes that is attached to the word premium in general, particularly for premium gasoline. Now, this sort of tag is just convincing a lot of people that, hey, listen, yeah, this is very good. It will optimize fuel efficiency. It will reduce, engine wear. It will keep the car, in top-notch state for a long period of time. Is it really true? No. Research has shown that this is pure fabrication really here. Higher octane gasoline, it only exists for vehicles with higher compression ratios. Those high-end sports cars, mostly, the cars that the Ferrari of the world, those are the cars that need high octane gasoline. If you have a regular car, you really don't need that. So don't get into this sort of frenzy of, I want to get expensive premium gasoline because this will keep my car in top shape. Number 13, bottled water. Now, bottled water is a very controversial topic, because a lot of people, on one side you have people who think that regular water, tap water, is not safe to drink, and on the other side you have the people who believe that it's been the biggest ripoff in the last 200 years. Now, I'm not going to get into that debate. All I want to say here is that water is the most precious and also the most abundant, actually, resource on the planet. And if you live in a good neighborhood, I'm not going to go into neighborhood comparison here, but if you live in a good neighborhood, chances are, if you live in the state, if you live in a developed country, chances are your tap water is already safe to drink, because municipalities and cities and state services, state health services, spend a lot of time, making sure that the water is safe to drink and healthy. So the thing here is, if you want to drink bottled water, I think a cheaper alternative for you is to buy a filtering device, right? You buy a filtering device and basically just drink water from that device. Or if you like me, you can just drink tap water. So you can save a lot of money there, because water is something that people have to drink every day. At least that's what healthcare specialists recommend. So it is a high consumption item. It is a commodity in that sense. So you can save a lot of cash on that end. Number 14, late payments. Now, late payments is just it's another crazy one, but believe it or not, a lot of people waste thousands of dollars on late payment, and those fees accumulate very quickly because, for example, you have a credit card, right? And the late payment fee actually runs somewhere around $40 or $75, depending on the card. Now, the funny thing is that the fee actually compounds, right? So if you miss a payment, the fee goes on to the balance that you owe the bank, and that fee starts earning interest for the bank. So 75, to make it very easy, if your fee is $20, next month, if you still don't pay it, it becomes $22, and that's in addition to next month's fee. So bottom line here is, you want to absolutely avoid the late payment fees. Now, in this digital era, you can pay a bill with a few clicks on a button. you can actually plan everything ahead. A few clicks of a button or taps on a touch screen can allow you to pay a bill, right? But what's really even interesting and what I recommend you do is just set them up automatically. So have auto payments, scheduled payments for your credit card, for your loans, for your insurance, for whatever for your utility bills. Just do the digital shifts, transfer everything online, and set dates for those things so that, God forbid, something happens to you, you end up in the hospital, or something happens, life happens, right? Things happen, you got to take care of business. And what's really important here is that you are able to just make sure that you have enough cash in the bank account. So just have something called an operating account. This could be your main checking account, and you just plan and schedule all those expenses. That way you save money. Number 15, electronic warranties. Now, this is the sort of electronics warranty or insurance that the electronics store offers you, right? Like when you buy those, let's say you buy a TV or you buy a fridge, a new fridge, or you buy anything electronically powered. At the checkout, the store clerk, right? They always want to sell you something extra, and they will ask you, would you want to have a warranty on this? It will cost you extra, and the warranty is basically valid for 2 years or 3 years. This is totally not needed, really, because most equipment, electronics equipment, come with a manufacturer warranty that is usually somewhere runs from 6 months to 2-3 years, depending on the device or the equipment. So the stuff that the store is selling to you is just pure pocket money for the store. You really don't need it. So unless your particular electronic device is, unless a store warranty is important for your particular electronic device, you really don't need it. So just double check before you sign anything, right? We will be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks, to another section of this wonderful conversation we're having about saving money, right? We want to save money. We want to give you some ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. Put some cash in your bank. Some cash in your bank. I love the sound of that. I just love the sound of that. Okay, now, one thing I want to say is that I have given you 15 saving strategies so far. We are going now to the number 16. You have, and this is one thing this is a biggie for me, really. You have those money wasting nonprofits, those charities that basically you give them money, you think they are spending the cash on the philanthropic cause that they have stated in their mission or their vision statements, right? And then when you actually read the annual reports of that nonprofit, for instance, you realize they're spending like up to 75% on things that have nothing to do with the philanthropic cause. They're spending money on things like overhead, management, operations, and fundraising. So they are raising funds to support their fundraising initiatives. That's just in my view, inappropriate. Normally, and a lot of experts have said that there was actually a report that came out recently that talked about the waste of money and the prevalence of inefficiency and resources being squandered in the nonprofit industry. It's actually an industry, which is a little weird comparing that it should be nonprofit. But the bottom line here is that you want to track expenses of your favorite nonprofit, making sure the money is going to the right place, which is helping people, advancing research, that kind of good stuff. Number 17, you can actually save money. The item here is alterations on bridal gowns. Now, again, this is a very unique situation because ideally you don't want to get married 4 or 5 or 10 times in your lifetime, right? You want this event to be a one-time event. You want your wedding to be a one-time event. So the alteration on your bridal gown can be very expensive, because it can cost somewhere from $100 to $2,000, depending on where you live and the sophistication, quote unquote, the glamorous nature of your gown, right? What I call the sophistication of the gown. The best way to do this to save money here is that you can actually do everything in the store before you buy the gown. So you agree with the store manager on all the things that are needed before you buy it, so that right after buying it, there is no alterations. You don't have to go back to the store, and if you need an alteration, the best advice from industry experts is to hire a third-party tailor, not the store tailor, because usually stores don't have full-time tailors, full-time alteration specialists, unless it's a really big store. What they do is they outsource that service to to somebody else. When they outsource the service, they are actually paying the subcontractor, but they are charging you more. They are marking up the fee that this contractor is paying them. So you just would rather just go yourself to a third party and outsource the alteration. Number 18, extra frequent flyer miles. Now, everybody knows the advantages of frequent flyer miles, but some airlines have actually been very shrewd, and what they've done is they have created something called extra frequent flyer miles. Now, you really don't need that unless you are really, really, really an extra frequent flyer. And in that case, if you're an extra frequent flyer, you might as well just think about getting a private jet if you can afford one, or actually, make sure that you have a credit card, a travel credit card that allows you to have those things. You don't have to get this through the airlines. You can get it through a credit card, as I said earlier. So the idea here is to get everything through a credit card that is affiliated, a high premium or a top-notch credit card that has many perks and rewards, so that you can save some cash. Now, for those people who really don't understand the concept, because airline miles is a concept that everybody knows about, but I'm realizing that some people don't understand what it is. Now, the airline miles, they are also known as frequent flyer miles. Sometimes you hear the terms travel points. It's part of a loyalty program, really, that airlines and credit cards offer. So typically what happens here is that you accumulate a specific amount of miles based on how far you fly or how much you spend on your credit card. So you don't have to fly. You can just also use your credit card and accumulate points, or it accumulates a specific amount of miles. And you can then use these miles to buy tickets, right? So usually that's kind of simple on the surface, but airline miles aren't that cut and dry. They are different, so you want to read the fine prints. Number 19, the way to save money here is your computer. Now, your computer, chances are, when you go to the store, when you go online to buy a computer, you ask for a lot of stuff. You want the best, you want the latest, you want cutting edge equipment, you want a computer with a high powered CPU, you want endless gigabytes of RAM, you want several terabytes of memory. The question is, do you really need all of that? Be honest, really. Do you need terabytes of memory? Unless you are a gamer, or unless you are in some kind of, the showbiz industry, you work with videos a lot, you're a professional video, you do a lot of stuff with pictures, with videos, with audio. You really don't need terabytes of memory. I don't even know what that means, terabyte. I think it's about 1,000 gigabytes, right? Yeah, I think something like that. I have to double check. Why? Oh, okay. But the problem here is that, the everyday person doesn't need something that is expensive. So those components, I'm talking about the high-powered CPU, the endless gigabytes of RAM, and the several terabytes of memory, to name a few. Those things are expensive enough when you add them, and they can add over $1,000 to the price of a computer. So you really want to figure out whether you need those features before adding them. Number 20, retail insurance. Now, retail insurance is also very important, right? So I'm talking about insurance that goes for anything from life insurance to health insurance to car insurance, you name it. The thing here is that a lot of people want to go to a salesperson. Now, an insurance representative, an insurance rep, has to make money. They are paid on commission. Sometimes they have a fixed salary, they have fixed pay, but they have a combo sometimes. Most of the times they have a combo of fixed and commission, right? So fixed salary and variable, the variable part being the commission. So that's why you have those sort of pushy sales associate, right? Because they really just want you to have this sort of insurance with this particular brokerage, with this particular insurer, because they are getting paid. So what you want to do instead is make sure that you do a little bit of shopping around just to have an idea of what's available out there, and also the price levels for each kind of service or product that you need. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks, to another section of Sweaty Kiwi. I'm just doing fantastic. Are you doing fantastic? Are you? I'm sure you are. Let's talk about something very serious here, which is budgeting. Money saving money, right? Making more money. A lot of ka-ching in your bank. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. I want you to laugh all the way to the bank. Now, number 21. Before I talk about number 21, let me just quickly again give a shout out to our beautiful fans. Today we acknowledge Harvey Riley in Holt, Michigan, Lee Hunt in Frontier, Michigan, and Melissa Barrett in Bayshore, Michigan. We love you, Harvey, Lee, and Melissa. Thank you so much for your support. We want to thank all our beautiful viewers and listeners and fans in America and Canada and throughout the whole world. Thank you so much for your support. It's been a fantastic ride so far, and we look forward to better adventures. And for those who are listening to us at the moment, if you find this content very valuable, please share with someone who might save some cash, who wants to save some cash. And who doesn't want to save cash? Everybody wants to, right? I'm sure you do. Please subscribe, smash that subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell. Like the comments. Like the comments. Who said like the comment? Like the content and comment below. Number 21, auto insurance. Earlier, I spoke about retail insurance. I was more talking about life insurance, health insurance. Now, auto insurance is something that is also very interesting. What you want to do here is in this day and age, everybody should be getting auto insurance online. You want to shop around and use those sort of apps or review websites that allow you to have a better idea of how many companies, sometimes they do a review of 10 companies, how they stack up against each other, how they compare, and that's how you make a choice. You don't never have this sort of I want to call someone or go into a store to go into an office to get auto insurance. No. Another thing that is also important is that people think that they are trapped in the automatic renewal of auto insurance. So I'm with insurer A. Every year I'm automatically trapped. I have to stay with them. No, you don't have to. It may sound convenient. It may be convenient because people don't want to get out of their comfort zone, but it is expensive because insurance companies are continually competing against each other. Every year you have new players coming and you have old players sitting around and being lethargic, taking your business for granted. And that's the worst thing you want. You don't want the insurance company, or any company for that matter, to take your business for granted, right? You want them to compete and fight for your business, because if not, you are wasting money, you are losing money. You rather just go to the next in line, the next company. So always shop around when you have to buy new insurance. And after the first year or 6 months or whatever length of time works for you, try to look for a better option. You can even call the same company that you're currently with, right, and ask them for a discount or other benefits. Greeting cards is number 2. Now, who still buys greeting cards? I know a lot of people. I myself sometimes buy greeting cards, specifically for birthdays or things like holiday season. You have Thanksgiving, you have Christmas. Greeting cards are very important, but the thing is that this is an industry, in my view, that is on the decline, on a declining path, because we are shifting from a paper-based society into a digital society, which means all those industries that rely on paper, from greeting cards to newspapers, magazine, those companies, and even books, that are going to be disrupted. You know, people always talk about the disruptive nature of companies like Uber or Airbnb or other companies, but the same is happening for greetings cards. So the thing here is that sometimes they charge you $5 or $10 or more per card for everyone, on every occasion. Imagine if you have 20 friends or 50 friends and family members, and all those 50 people have birthdays. That's 50 already. And if the card is $5, that's 50 times 5. How much is that? My math is very bad. 250, right? That's 250. And in addition to that, you have things like holiday celebrations. So if you have to send those cards, you have to send holiday cards to those people. Those things add up pretty quickly. You can find yourself actually spending $1,000, $1,000 just on greeting cards. So instead of buying the Hallmark cards, I have nothing against Hallmark. I buy their cards anyway. But what I'm trying to say is, instead of buying their card, you might want to look for alternatives, right? And there are a lot of free greeting cards online. You can have them printed for pennies. You can download them, you can customize them, and you can print them for pennies. And that saves you a lot of money. Number 23, the ATM fees. Now, I spoke earlier about the banking fees being a consequence of the bank's overhead. The same applies for ATM fees, with a twist though. Now, there is a twist here. The thing is that if you are in a situation where your bank's ATM isn't nearby, you have to spend $2 or $5, right, to withdraw your own money from somebody else's ATM. So I believe this is a banking scam. This is really a banking scam. And the thing here is that you want to have one bank account, and you want to go with a bank that is solid enough and that has a lot of ATMs around, or a lot of branches around. Or even better, what you want to do is you want to have a bank that refunds or waives those fees, so you can save on them. Now, you might say that it's only $2 or $5 per withdrawal, but those withdrawals really add up. Again, if you withdraw, say, 20 times or 20 times a year, which is very, very low, even 20 times a year, 20 times 5, that's 100. And that's just free cash. This is money you're paying just to withdraw your own money. It's crazy. Number 24, those makeup wipes, those facial cleaners that are so exotic, they come up with fancy names. They tell you, oh, this is done with some kind of fancy oil. This is those wellness oil, and those, so the wipes, the facial cleaners, is just something sophisticated. Do you really need those? Do you really need the sophisticated facial face cleaners? I don't think so. So instead, you want to go for normal face cleaners. Depending, I'm not a dermatologist here, but you can always go for a cheaper option and make sure that that cheaper option is something that fits with your skin type, right? That fits with your routine, with your beauty routine. I think this is more for ladies out there. So the exotic facial cleaners that come with a high price tag are not really going to help your wallet. Number 25, newspaper magazine subscription. Another big one. Again, I have nothing against newspapers and magazines, but this is an industry that has to reinvent itself. The business model has to change. They've done it already. A lot of the big ones have already done it. So I'm talking about the New York Times and Washington Post of the world, the New Yorker, the LA Times. Those have done what they were supposed to do, which is rely more on online ad rather than subscription. So if you subscribe to a magazine, unless you really, really, really love the magazine, I think this is just a waste of money and it should be scratched off your budget list. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks. We are continuing our journey into the 50 beautiful ways to save money, right? 50 beautiful ways to save money. 50 ways that you are being ripped off, items that you are spending too much money on, and cheap solutions for all the things you are overpaying for, right? It's kind of crazy to really think about how many things we overpay for. And number 26, bra and pant extenders is one. Now, bra and pant extenders really are for pregnant women, right? And the thing here is that you can use those bra and pant extenders rather than buying new maternity wardrobe. So in this case, it's more a savings alternative. You want to get into a situation where you don't have to renew your wardrobe anytime you get pregnant or anytime something nice happens in the family, something, a very happy event occurs in the family. So look for those alternatives. So in this case, a bra extender it's perfect. A pant extender is perfect, works fine. Number 27, travel size products. Now you want to get, whenever you travel, think about buying things that will fit in a normal bag, because the last thing you want is to buy those sort of big travel bags that sometimes are expensive. In addition to that, if you can't carry them in your luggage, then you have to carry them in a handbag, and those things might be, for security reasons. Sometimes the TSA officials will probably just confiscate those things, and you're all losing money twice, right? You're all losing money on overpriced stuff, and you're all losing money because you can't even use the stuff that you paid so much money for. So that's a big no-no. Number 28, branded merchandise. Now, branded merch is an interesting thing. You see them a lot online. You see them usually around big events. By the way, we are having an incredibly interesting show on branding and branded merch. You don't want to miss that. You want to dig into our database, our comprehensive database, and look for that show. You will love it. It will give you a lot of ideas. If you're an entrepreneur, you're an ambitious business owner, you want to move up the ladder. If you want to move up the competitive ladder, chances are you are going to find this show very interesting. So branded merch is another thing you want to scratch off. Unless you really love a team, unless you really love the brand, you don't want to spend $100 or $200 on merch. Another thing here is branded accessories. Right now, the accessories that I'm talking about here is the accessories that many companies, especially the electronics manufacturers, right, they would want to push on you. So what they do is they will make you believe that only accessories made by them will work correctly with their products. So for instance, you have the iPhone, you have Apple telling everybody, hey, listen, you gotta buy an iPhone accessory because if you buy a generic sort of accessory, it wouldn't work. Chances are it's really not true. I mean, there are a lot of websites online that have debunked that myth. So it's really not true. And you can save up to 75% by shopping around for third-party accessories. And I'm talking about things like third-party charger, headphone, any kind of accessories that you can think about. It's just better to buy non-branded ones. Number 30, retail store products. Now, if you can afford to wait, because sometimes you look at those discounts, those so-called discounts at your local store, and they say, oh, wow, you want to buy this, you can buy this for a fraction of the price. This is just, it's a gimmick. And what you want to do instead is buy those things online. It's just much better to buy them online rather than buying them, at a brick and mortar store, because those brick and mortar stores actually, again, going back to what I said about overhead, they have administrative costs that they have to pass on to customers. But if you go to an online store, sometimes you have those online stores that use a series of tactics, one of which is drop shipping. The store owner doesn't bear any costs. I mean, he or she has costs, but the costs are not as high as the cost of having a physical facility. So retail store products are usually good. If you cannot find a cheaper option online, then I would say just go for it. Go for those retail store products. Otherwise, look for something else. We'll be right back right after this. Hello. I am right back, and I'm just very happy to have you around. We are talking about something very interesting. Budgeting advice from a ruthless nonconformist. Yes, we go the unconventional way, giving you ideas that you wouldn't find anywhere, only here on the Sweetie Kiwi Show, the world's largest infotainment show, the biggest, the most popular, the most loved. We want to give a shout out to our fans. Shout out to all our fans in New York, in LA, in Chicago, but most importantly, we want to give a shout out to 3 fans in New Hampshire. Victor Charles in Walpole, New Hampshire, will love you. To think of you. Thank you so much. We want to acknowledge you. We want to acknowledge Will Cash in Enfield, New Hampshire. Will Cash, Billy, we love you. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for all the good things you have written to us and supporting us. Maeve Kramer in Suncook, New Hampshire. Maeve, thank you so much. So Victor, Will, and Maeve and their beautiful families in Walpole, Enfield, and Suncook, New Hampshire, respectively. Thank you so much. We are talking about item number 31, unused bandwidth. A lot of people pay exorbitant amounts for internet speed. They want the fastest speed. They want the fastest data bandwidth. The fastest and the most expensive, even though they only require 400 or 4 Mbps, right? The thing here is that people, when shopping, want the best. They want the fastest, but in reality, they really don't need that much. So unused bandwidth is another things that a lot of folks overpay for. And what you really want to do is use, if you find yourself in a situation where you don't use the internet that much, or you find yourself having an excess of bandwidth, of unused bandwidth every month, why don't you try to do a collab with a friend or with a roommate where you share the bandwidth and you can just share the savings as well. You can split the savings. That's a good opportunity. That's a good opportunity for you to save money, especially in the long run, because internet costs, communication costs in general can can add up pretty quickly. Number 32, cable TV. Another one. This is how many channels do I have right now? I think I have 200 channels on my cable TV setup. Can you imagine 200 channels, as most Americans have, most Americans and Canadians have? You have a cable TV lineup with 200 channels, and you have 24 hours in the day. You probably sleep, at least I hope you sleep 8 hours a day. You have to go to work, you have to eat, you have to socialize. How much time do you have to watch those 200 channels? So this is just a lot of waste. It's just a lot of waste there, because on average, research has shown that people need a maximum of 5 channels. So rather than buying the 200 and paying $40 or $100 to the cable company, check other programs like Amazon TV, YouTube TV, Netflix, Hulu, all those sort of alternatives where you're paying $20 or $15 a month, and you have a diverse and comprehensive lineup of programs that will appeal not only to you but also to your family members. Number 33, credit reports. That's a good one. This is a good one, right? This is a good one. Credit report. Do you know your credit report? Do you know your credit score? What is your credit score? Tell me. Tell us in the comment section. Everybody, don't lie. Don't add 200 points. Don't add 300 points. Credit reports. Now, credit report. The three biggies. The Experian, the TransUnion, and the Equifax of the world, they will charge you a lot of money just to have your credit report. But one thing that a lot of people don't know is that you can get a free credit report 3 times a year. It's actually in the law, and actually there is a website called annualcreditreport.com. Annualcreditreport.com that basically allows you to get a good glimpse into your credit report at least every 4 months. And the thing is, take advantage of that, right? So you don't have to buy the 100, you don't have to spend that much money, $100 or $75 from the three biggies to know your credit report. And sometimes things happen, right? You get into dire financial straits, you're having problems, you have not repaid a debt and that kind of stuff, and those things can really shave a few dozen, if not 100 points off your credit score. And you would want to have an idea of where you stand credit wise. So do those things. Don't get in the rush and trying to spend $75 and trying to get a report from the three biggies. That's a no-no. Number 34, you want to get an HD TV, the highest possible definition. You want to get a TV with the highest possible definition. Chances are, do you really need that? There have been countless studies that show that resolution pixels, which is really the resolution here. If you take a 720, you compare a 720p versus a 1080, 1080p, those two are virtually identical. Now, there are some subtle differences, but the bottom line is, those subtle differences, are they worth $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 more? That's really the question you got to ask yourself. So TV marketers have convinced a lot of us, if not the whole world, that higher definition equals a better viewing experience. While some of that is partially true, right? But the question is, how much of it is really true? Like, what is the better viewing experience for you? What is it? Is it a 90% viewing experience or 120% viewing experience? So you don't have to necessarily buy a highest possible definition TV. Number 35, those prepackaged deli food. Now the deli food is kind of cool, right? Everybody needs food to live, right? But the thing is, you have plenty of opportunities to actually save money through coupons. You have discounts. You have those occasional discount, occasional promotions that you need. Everything that would allow you to lose money or to lose your cash if you do not take advantage of them. So the prepackaged deli food, you can buy them during the sales period. You can buy them during you can buy them in bulk. You can buy them using coupons and save money. Now there are a lot of websites online where you can acquire coupons freely. You can even collect your own coupons and actually collect also your neighbor's coupons. Think about that. A lot of folks just throw those things away because they might not need them. But if you are trying to save cash, you're trying to count every penny possible, you want to look at your food expenses because that's a biggie. And you want to reduce them as much as possible. Now, I'm not saying you have to go back to the poverty line and eat like sort of, crappy food. Excuse the word here. You want to eat good food, right? But you want to make sure that you eat good food that is well priced. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks. I am just here again. I'm loving this show. We are talking about 50 ways to save money, 50 ways to get you more ka-ching in your bank account. Do you think we are doing a good job so far in helping you save money? If you think so, please like this content, subscribe to our channel, The Sweetie Kiwi Show. We are always providing better quality, great content, impeccable research to back up everything we say. And we are doing this because we love our viewers and listeners, and we love the kind of show we're trying to put forward. So comment below. I want to ask you a question, and I want you to put the answer in the comment section here. What is, in your view, the best way to save money? What are 2 or 3 tips that you have used over the last 5 years or the last 10 years or even longer or earlier that have helped you to save tons of money? It's very important. Let me just emphasize, tons of money. We're not looking for saving just a few bucks here and there. We are thinking about things that will save you tons of money. So put the comment below and share your intellectual wealth with the Sweetie Kiwi community. Number 36, travel agency. Now, travel agency booking of trip packages, right? So if you want to, let's say the next time you are planning a trip, you go to a travel agency and you want to book a hotel room, you want to book a car, you want to book a flight, you want to book some kind of excursions, part of the travel package. That's very expensive. And you can actually save a lot of money by going the retail option as opposed to going the wholesale option, because the travel industry, the travel agency sector is one of those sectors where the wholesale versus retail conundrum or dichotomy, if you will, doesn't work in favor of the wholesale. What do I mean by that? Usually when you have, traditionally when you go to a wholesale store, you are thinking about getting savings, right? Paying cheaper there than going to a retail store. That doesn't always happen in the travel agency sector because, again, their overhead, you go to a physical place, a physical facility, they have overhead, they have rent, they have utilities, they have staff to pay, all that kind of stuff. Consider this alternative. Book everything separately. So you want to book the hotel, and you want to do this online. You want to book the hotel room separately. You want to book a car rental separately. You want to book a flight, and you want to book any sort of excursions, adventures that you want to have during the trip, any sort of destination. You want to do everything actually separately. Now, a lot of people think it's a lot of work, but you got to think about how much your time is worth, right? If you want to, do you want to save time or do you want to save money? You can't do both. So if you want to save time, then you can go for the wholesale model with the travel agency. But if you want to save money, then you need to do some kind of DIY. Number 37, the credit card gift card. Now, this credit card gift card can be very expensive. We are having a full show dedicated to, a full show focused on credit cards and gift cards. So here I'm not going into too much details here. All I want to say is that watch out for those fixed fee cards or those, slide scale fees. So you have gradual fees versus fixed fees. Those can be very expensive. And another question you got to ask yourself is, do you even need the gift card? Do you even need the credit card gift card? Is it just better probably to get it separately, or whether or not it is beneficial for you to have it with the credit card? So this is another thing to really pay attention to if your goal is to save money. Number 38, brand name medicine. Now, and this is a very good one, and this is one that I quite understand, that on one side, you have big pharma, pharmaceutical companies actually spending a lot of money on R&D, spend a lot of cash developing a product. So when they develop the product, they get a 20-year ban on generic sales. So they have 20 years to turn their investments into a profit, right? Which makes sense. What happens is that in that meantime, in the 20-year period, some of those medications are overpriced. So for the consumer, which is on the other side of things, consumers have to make a decision as to what's really important. I think in general, for minor things, for minor conditions, it's better to buy a generic medication and forego those branded medications. So if you find yourself in a situation where you are getting some prescriptions, ask your doctor to give you a generic. Ask your doctor if there is a generic version available, and if there is such a version, you want to go for the generic prescription. Number 39, mutual fund fees. This is another big one. Now, mutual funds are financial institutions that basically help retail investors and institutional investors actually, invest. They invest in we also have another program coming on mutual funds, but those mutual funds invest on everything from stock to bonds to real estate to anything you can think about, to gold. What's a killer here is the fees they charge, and some charge from 1% to 2%. There's no real regulation on the fees they have to charge. So it's 1% of AUM. AUM stands for asset under management. So for instance, if you have 100 grand invested in a mutual fund, every year they will charge you $1,000. Now, you might say this is kind of little, but imagine if the portfolio is not performing, they're still charging you. So if you had a bad year, if the market went down and you found yourself all of a sudden your portfolio balance dropped to 70,000, in other words, you had a 30% unrealized loss, the mutual fund is still charging you 1%. So basically, you find yourself now paying 1,000, so you have a balance of 69,000. So this is really basically one thing you have to pay attention to. And the thing is that most of them, although a few have changed, but most of them, they charge you the fees actually at the beginning of the period. So you are being charged even before they started investing for you. But I think this is something that the industry is trying to change now. So they're charging you at the end of the period. But either way, yes, 1%, 2%, mutual fund fees that can really add up. Car rentals. Now, car rentals is another thing, right? It's another way that you are losing money, maybe depending on your field. But why don't you go for a cheaper option? Public transportation, ride hailing or ride sharing, right? You have this now in a lot of American cities and overseas also you have that. Or try carpool. That's another cheap version too, to save money. Do you know of another option, another cheap option to, transportation option? Put your answer in the comment section below. Let us know, besides public transportation, carpool, and ride hailing, if in your area there are other alternatives to car rental. Let us know. Thank you. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks, to another section of the Sweetie Kiwi Show. We are very happy to have you. I hope you are doing marvelous like I am. Are you still having that cup of coffee, tea, or vodka? This is great. Now, we are still talking about how to make you save money. We're talking about unconventional ways to save money, to have more ka-ching in your bank account, more cash, more pleasure, more opportunity to spend your money in the right way. Now, the number 41, you have those unnecessary medical tests, right? Now, the thing is that in the industry, you have a lot of unnecessary, irrelevant medical tests where, whereby doctors get a kickback from the testing facility. Now, it is illegal, but it is something that is very prevalent in the industry. It's just the same way your doctor is prescribing medication to you and they're getting a sort of kickback from big pharma. There's nothing written down. There's no contractual agreement that specifies that, but we all know it, and there has been a lot of reports around that. What you want to do instead is that, so you have those unnecessary medical tests for yourself during pregnancy, for the children, for your pet. Those tests are good. This is why we always recommend to have two doctors. So you want to have a second opinion on most important thing. Now, on most important things, if you have a serious condition, I would say just trust the doctor. But if you have an everyday situation and you just go for just a normal checkup and they want you to do they want you to really undergo a battery of tests, I would say you want to question that, because you might say, well, listen, the insurance company is paying for it. Well, not quite true, because sometimes the insurance company will ask you, not sometimes, most of the time, the insurance companies will want you to pay a certain portion first, right? That's before they pay everything. So you are still responsible for 10 or 20% of the total bill before the insurance company pays the rest. So the higher the bill, the higher your out-of-pocket pay. And also, there are some tests and some medical services that are not covered by the insurance company. So your policy may have some exclusions, and if whatever irrelevant or unnecessary test you happen to have, if that test is not covered by your policy, you are going to pay it yourself. So this is just something to really watch out for. Number 42, college textbooks. Before I talk about this, I just want to give a quick shout out to our beautiful fans and listeners and viewers over the world, specifically in Australia. And I have three particularly wonderful viewers I want to acknowledge today. Leo Wood in Newcastle, Australia. We acknowledge you. We recognize you. Thank you so much for your support. Rayleigh Mann. Thank you so much also from Newcastle, Australia. Thank you so much for sticking around, for supporting us. Alma Herring from Newcastle, Australia. Thank you so much. If you also, you listening to us right now, or you the viewer wants us to give, if you want us to give you a shout out, comment below, send us your suggestions for topics. We'll indicate the email or the way to reach us on any platform, and we'll give you a shout out. So I was talking about college textbooks, number 42. In this day and age, college textbooks can really cost tons of money. I remember when I was in college, it was just crazy how much money I would be paying for. One book. I mean, actually, this was more for business books that were costing upwards of €100, $100, or 100 pounds, or 100 whatever. And when I was doing, the master's degree, the costs were even higher. And I have right now, and this was years ago, decades ago. And really, nowadays, you don't really need that, right? You can buy books online. Amazon back in the days were, they were really sort of new. They were selling books. Now Amazon is selling everything, but they are still selling books. So rather than going to your college bookstore, to your university's bookstore, you can buy books online. There are cheaper alternatives out there. There are a lot of them, actually. I don't need to give names, but there are a lot of them. Just Google online textbooks, and you can save upwards of 75% of the price, of a book. That's really good to know. Number 43, music. Now, music is an important component of daily lives, right? But the thing is, digital technology has ensured that people and fans no longer have to purchase entire albums, right? Like, you don't want to buy an entire album, and on the album you only have 2 songs that you like. So you have an album that has 10 songs, and out of the 10, only 2 are your favorite. But in the meantime, you would have spent $20 on the album. That's just crazy, right? So instead of buying the album, why don't you just cherry pick the songs? Why don't you just cherry pick your favorite songs from hundreds, if not thousands of songs? And you can do that. There are a lot of streaming services that allow you to do that. So you can cherry pick and listen to and pay a subscription fee every month. That's just a lot better than spending thousands of dollars in your lifetime over music you don't like. So that's a good one. Number 44, your energy bill. Energy bill is an important thing that you can reduce. Electricity, water bill, that kind of stuff. So if you have, for instance, you can waste a lot of cash if you have improper home insulation, poor heating. You have things like ventilation and air conditioning. So if you have system maintenance that are not working, or another good one, a lot of people just leave the lights on. I mean, you leave the lights on at night, or sometimes you forget when you are not home. Some people even I have a friend who has a crazy routine, but I guess this is sort of good for her. But she has a pet, she has a dog, and what she does is she would leave the light on all day while she's at work. So she has a system where she could check how the dog is doing, right? This sort of remote camera, whatever, this sort of system that allows you to check what's going on in your house. She has that, but she has lights on because apparently the little puppy is afraid of dark. So she leaves the lights on all day. Now imagine how much money her utility bills, her electric bills is. And a lot of folks do that. So you can actually change those habits, and you can save a lot of money. So you can optimize the efficiency of your appliances. You can actually turn off devices that shouldn't be operating while you're not in the house. That kind of stuff can save you a lot of money. Number 45, parking. Parking can be an expensive item on the budget, right? Things like parking tickets, parking garages, the fees, the parking meters, those things really add up. and they can cost you anywhere from a few $100 to several $1,000s a year. And you can actually cut that by avoiding penalties, by being a good driver on the road, but also using public transportation, right? You can use public transportation, or even planning your trips properly. You can really know, if you plan properly, you know where to save money on costs, on parking costs, and also the seasonality. So when to plan the trip and how to plan the trip. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks. I'm sure you are still around. How you doing? I hope you are doing marvelous. We are in the last five, the last 5 items. We are going to talk about the last 5 items. Remember, we used to have 50. We have covered 45 items already. So basically, we were talking about, for those who just joined us, this is a show that talks about 50 ways, that shows you 50 ways you are being ripped off, items you are spending too much money on, and cheap solutions for all the things you are overpaying for. Are you overpaying for something? I can't hear you. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, maybe. Well, either way, it's always good to know, right? If you are overpaying for stuff, it's good to know so you can arrest the habit. You can stop that habit. If you're not overpaying for stuff, it's always good to have this FYI. You can share this content with someone who might need this kind of advice so they can have more ka-ching in their bank account, right? I just love the sound of ka-ching. I love that sound. Do you love that sound too? Number 46, booking through online platforms. I think it's just better to, and research has shown that you saved on average 30 to 42% by going directly to the provider website rather than booking through an online platform. For example, do you want to book a flight? Go to an online booking site, right? Find the company, find the flight, find the airline, and then go to the airline's website itself and book from there, so you can actually bypass the 10% that the platform, the online booking platform, is charging you, is adding on top of the ticket price. The same applies for hotels, car rentals, you name it. The bottom line is always go directly to the provider. And what's even better, in my view, is to call them directly. You can call the provider directly. So for instance, if you want to book a hotel, what you do is first you go to an online, a hotel website. You have those sort of aggregators, right? They compare prices from several providers. They're called aggregators. You use them. I mean, there are a lot of them out there. And what you do is, for instance, I don't want to advertise for any platform, which is why I'm not naming names. But if you Google hotel, book hotels, you have those aggregators. And what you do is you kind of go through the price, and the hotel that you like, you actually go to their website to book the room. Or as I said before, even better, you just call them directly and say, listen, this is do you have, and sometimes you might be surprised that you would be having a better price by talking to a live person. Number 47, the so-called organic food. The so-called bio, organic, all that kind of new fancy branding that has happened lately. Now, I'm not saying that organic food is bad. Organic food is good. The question is, how much should you pay for it? Are you going to break the bank just to feed yourself and your family with so-called organic food? Not really. I don't think so. We are talking here about budgeting and saving you money. So it is very important to look for alternative ways to feed yourself and your family at a good sort of quality versus cost balance, right? So instead of buying those sort of high branded organic food or bio food, why don't you just talk to the local farmers? Why don't you go to those local markets? If you live in an area where they have those seasonal, those periodic farmers markets, it's just better to buy directly from the farmer. You save a lot of cash, not only from in terms of logistics. They don't have to transport the items, the commodities. They don't have to package or conserve the produce. They have it right there and there. You buy it and you just bring it home and conserve it. So that's the alternative. Number 48, Christmas tree and related decoration. Now, of course, this applies not just for Christmas or the holiday season. It applies for everything that comes once a year or once every 3 years or once every 2 years. Any celebration that is periodic and that you know that you have stuff that you use all the time, just recycle those things. Use the same Christmas tree or decoration for 2 or 3 use them 2 or 3 times or 4 times if they're well conserved. You don't have to buy the same tree, or you don't have to buy another tree or another set of decorations every year. So that's a good way to save money, and you can keep and reuse them ad infinitum if that's what you want. If your goal is to save cash, if your goal is to watch every item on the budgeting list, then look for alternatives. Number 49, top branded clothing. Now, top branded clothing it's good to have. You know, those big brands are doing a lot of advertising, a lot of research on behavioral psychology to make sure that consumers like their brands. And you know what? Hats off to them. I really applaud them. But for you, as a consumer trying to save money, it's not really recommended to buy a top branded clothing, because you can get something even cheaper, not even cheaper, something way cheaper, but sometimes even more beautiful. The idea is to start doing some research in your local clothing store or online, right? And look for alternative. So that's a good way to save money. Number 10, DIY car repairs and maintenance. Now, if you are manually inclined like me, there are a lot of stuff you can do yourself. There are a lot of repairs and a lot of maintenance you could do on your car and save hundreds, if not thousands of bucks, depending on the model and on the brand and the model here. So things like air filter replacement, oil change, spark plugs can be done manually, and you can do them yourself. You know, it doesn't require a PhD in mechanics, a PhD in garage management. I don't even know if such a program exists. A PhD in garage management. It sounds good. Listen, I am this and this. I have a PhD in garage management. So there are a lot of stuff you can do. So seat belts, car batteries, plug-in tires, ABS sensors, dangling the exhaust pipes. You can fix those yourself. The brake pads, the fuel filters, a lot of stuff, headlight bulbs, windshield wipers, all of those things you can do yourself. You don't have to go to a garage and pay $100 or $200 to have those things repaired. So DIY car repairs can help you a lot, save money. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, folks. We have finished the list of 50 items you can implement, the 50 things you can implement today to save some cash. I want to quickly recap for those who just joined us that we have talked about 50 unconventional ways to save money, and I'm going to quickly go through them so you can take notes. Those that you can apply to your life today, start applying them today. And you want to wait till the end, because I have an amazing pro tip for you. You are going to love that. You are going to love the tip because it's going to help you save way more money. So the 50 unconventional ways are trying to buy upscale coffins can cost you money, airline club memberships, banking fees, graduation, caps and gowns, hotel stays, health foods, cell phone plans, cell phone insurance, auto dealer repair services, your own electronics, your own cars, your next car, a new car, if you will, premium gasoline, bottled water, late payments, electronic warranties, money wasting nonprofits, those who are spending a lot of money, a lot of cash on things that have nothing to do with the philanthropic cause, alteration on bridal gowns, extra frequent flyer miles, your computer, retail insurance, auto insurance, greetings cards, ATM fees, exotic face cleaners, newspaper and magazine subscription, bra and pant extenders, travel size products, branded merchandise, branded accessories, retail store products, unused bandwidth. Let me just take a breath. Let me breathe. Cable TV, credit reports, trying to have a highest possible definition TV, prepackaged deli food, travel agency booking, credit card, gift card, brand name medicine, hundreds of mutual funds who are charging you 1 to 2% on fee on their AUM. You have brand name medicine. You have car rentals, unnecessary medical tests, college textbooks, music, your energy bill, parking, booking through online platforms, the so-called organic food, Christmas tree, and other decoration, top branded clothing, DIY car repairs and maintenance. Now, here is my call to action today. Now, it is very important. I always say it's important to have the info, to get the info, and I'm glad that you are still around with us, because it means that you have found this content valuable. But I want you to really do this. This is a call to action for this show. Make a list of your expenses today. Categorize those expenses into 3 clusters. You have the regular, the everyday expenses, or every week, the periodic, the one time, once a year, or every 6 months, and the discretionary. So you have regular, periodic, and discretionary. The discretionary expenses are more like the nice to have, right? Traveling, taking vacation, going to movies, that kind of stuff. Now, explore savings opportunities. See how to save money on periodic and discretionary items. Now, because you can't really save money on regular items, right? Regular items are, things like food, you gotta eat, you gotta go to work, transportation. Those are not, you cannot be flexible. No, you have to be flexible on those. Hire a financial advisor. Now, depending on your situation, you may need a financial advisor to help you sort of devise a solid plan for your financial future. Create a budget, and this is very easy. This can be this is getting easier and easier. You can use an app or free financial software online just to have a budget. And the last thing I want you to start doing today is to start tracking your financial situation. I'm talking about your expenses, your income, and your savings ratio, and do this on a monthly basis. So expenses, income, and savings ratio. Now, savings ratio is just your expenses over your income, or vice versa. It doesn't really matter. But for instance, if you are making $100 and spending $70, your savings ratio is 30%, because you are saving $30 out of $100. So that's 30%. And this is very important, folks, because this would allow you to know exactly where you are, financially speaking, at any point in time, not just at the end of the month, but any point in time. I will now give you the pro tips. Actually, the pro tips that you are going to find mind-blowing, is going to help you very quickly to get on your to get back onto the kind of financial path you want to get onto. But we'll be right back right after this. All right, here are the pro tips you've been waiting for. What you really want to do if you want to save money is you want to budget to zero before the month begins. So you want to start from fresh. You want to start from zero. That's very important. Try to do the budget with your significant other. If you are in a relationship or you have someone else, try to do the budget together. And remember that every month is different, so keep that in mind. So when you start the budget, you budget to zero every month. You start from fresh. Just keep in mind that every month is different. And you want to always start with the tier 1 categories, what I call tier 1. Those are the most important categories. Those are what I called earlier the regular cluster. And paying off debt is very important. So put debt payments in that tier 1. And don't be afraid if you have any kind of any kind of situation, any kind of I would say any kind of doubt. Don't be afraid to trim the budget. So I always like to have these things where if you're spending $100 every year or every day on something or every month, try to bring it to 90 and see how you actually do, right? So if you have 1,000 budget, bring it to 900 and see whether or not this has had a huge impact on your life. And the thing is, track your progress and make a schedule and stick to it. Those were the pro tips of today, folks. I hope that you found them valuable. If you do, once again, leave us a comment, share the data so that anybody else can also benefit from it. Like it, subscribe to our channel, and we will see you next time. Thank you and stay marvelous.